Welcome to our KRA, Kentucky Reading Association, presentation on running records, getting the most from your running records.
How that structure is going to be.
Next, we're going to talk about the early levels. First thing we're going to do is look at steps to analyze a running record. And this information came from Jan Richardson and Mary Ann McBride and Libby Larrabee. The first step is this text an appropriate level? And everyone pretty well knows if it's easy, instructional, or hard. This is just a review for everyone. The second step, step number 2, is what source of information did the child use? Did they use meaning? Did they use structure? Or did they use visual? These are the two that most reading recovery teachers look at the most. But today we're going to learn how to dive deeper into it. Step number 3, did he or she integrate the multiple sources of information? Does the child use meaning, structure, and visual in a coordinated way? Step number 4, is the child monitoring? Does the child notice when something isn't right? Does the child show signs of monitoring by stopping his reading, looking unsure, hesitating, or looking at you? And, sometimes just by stopping, that's a great step because at least they realize something's wrong and you can always work on teaching them what to do at that point. Step number 5, what other strategic activity did the child use at difficulty or error? What is the pattern of error? What is the pattern of behavior? Did the child search, cross-check, reread, self-correct, or maybe the child did nothing, so that would be a huge problem. Step number 6, what do they need to learn next? And this is what we're really going to focus on in this section, is what to do next. An example might be maybe they're not a risk taker, they need to take more risks. Maybe they need to use meaning. Sometimes we prompt kids so much to look at the word, they go straight visual. They may need to self-monitor errors, or to reread, or to notice print details. And step number 7 is, we always need to comment on the child's level of fluency. Is the child's voice guided by the punctuation? Because if it's not, sometimes it changes the entire meaning of that story. So here are the 7 steps that we're going to be looking at. So today we're going to look at a text, Sam Goes to School. It's a text level 7 with 131 words. Here is the running record from Taylor. If you will look, her score was 87%. And what we did during the presentation was we took time out to look at the running record and to share our ideas. And the majority of people came up with the idea that this child was not looking all the way through the word. Like for look, they said looks for looked. And it did cause them to miss quite a few words, and stays for stayed. So it is a structural issue. However, this was the running record, but the next one I'm going to show you is going to have some more details on it, and it may change your mind. Okay. When I went back and analyzed my running record in more detail, this is what I found. And I documented it on my running record. At the very top, you will see this child had 6 toads, which is very important information. Also, if you look at her self-correction ratio, it was 1 to 18. In fact, I think she only self-corrected 1 time. Also, if you look on the first page, on page number 3, she read word by word. And a lot of her toads, if you'll look, there was absolutely no attempts at them whatsoever. So that was a huge concern. And if you'll go over and look on page 7, she was still reading word by word. But on page 8, she did cross-check the pictures for boys and girls, or girls and boys. Also, when she got down to page 14, she did start phrasing 2 to 3 words. The meaning started coming together for her. But when I looked more deeply at this running record, the one thing that really concerned, well, 2 things that really concerned me most was all the toads and the self-correction ratio, but also how she missed words that she shouldn't have. like go. She said go for come. And she wasn't even looking at those beginning initial visuals. She said children for girls, but she did self-correct, so that was one of my teaching points. If you'll look, she's on page 8, she said down for here. And if you'll go on down, look at page 14. She said bye for goodbye. And she knows all of her letters. And she did that twice. So I understand that she does need to look at endings, but right now that's not my biggest concern. My biggest concern is I want her to always look at that initial visual and not to just make up a word that goes in there that sounds right. So what I want you to do, well, we pretty well talked about this. What will extend her problem-solving ability, and what is the next step? What will extend her problem-solving ability would be, I would look at the toads. I would also look at a lot of high-frequency words that she missed, or she was slow articulating. Like the word Sam, she should have gotten Sam a lot quicker. And but there were some words that she did not know that she really should have known as high-frequency words. And is she self-monitoring? If you'll look back, she only reread like twice, and it was only a couple words. One of the things that really got me was, as when I told her a word, she did not go back and reread the sentence to gain the meaning of that. She just went right on. She never even repeated the word. So that's something I'm also going to have to work on. And what was her problem-solving actions? And basically, she waited on me or tried to slow articulate. So now what I want to do is show you a text level 10, Pip and the Little Monkey. If you've had this book, you know what I'm talking about. The text is a little bit odd on it. It's on the left side, it's on the top, and maybe it's either on the top or bottom of each page. So they really have to notice where the text is at. This is her running. Well, as you know, as the books become longer and more complex, book language is less familiar because the language is used more. It's not the child's language anymore. It's going totally book language. With that being said, the child has to work with increased speed and fluency. Here's our running record from Pip and the Little Monkey. If you'll look, she scored a 93. And her self-correction rate was 1 to 2. So what I did was I gave people time to actually look at the running record to examine it. And some of the things I noticed was that she was rereading, seems to be taking more chances. So now we're going to look a little bit deeper at this running record. And here's some additional information I had put on there. If you'll look at the top, she only had 1 toad now compared to, I think it was 6 on text level 7. So that has gotten a lot better since then. If you'll look also, she read word by word on page 3 through 5 actually. Her oral language still tries to override, because if you look on page 6, she inserted the word little to make it sound right for her. But she did also go back and self-correct it and left it out. She paused after reading, before reading on. She knew this page was not correct when she read it because it did not make sense. It did not sound right. She knew it was wrong, but she did not know how to self-correct it. So that's a plus. If you look on page 9, she did cross-check the picture for the word sleep. And also, if you look on page 12, after I told her the word, the 1 toad, she's still not going back and rereading, right? If you'll look on page 14, I put she was phrasing and her fluency improved from 14 on. So, and she did cross-check the picture for home and house, and she had to cross-check through visuals, so she's starting to pick that up some, because home and houses do look alike. So, what will extend her problem-solving ability, and what is the next step? So, one thing we need to do is look at our choice of new text. You know, you always have to read that book before you allow the kid to read it. And you got to think about any tricky spots in there that may confuse the child. Also, you got to look at your introduction. You got to look at the structure and see if there's any type of structure in there. It can be as simple as Ben's teddy bear, you know, where, oh, where. Kids we do not say, where, oh, where is my ink pen? So that confuses kids. Any type of unusual phrases or past tense verbs. And if you'll look at this last running record, She had a lot of verb tenses that were confusing. Like she said helps for helped, goes for went, and then she self-corrected. And she did like car for care. And also you need to look at any type of complex structure that's in the book. Also, another thing you need to really be doing is echoing this and writing. You know, because by this point, they're on text level 10. Their writing should be lifted. So a lot of good ways to do that is by writing about the text. And years ago, I had a teacher that was really good with writing. When she got up to the higher level text, she would let the child ask the character a question. And, you know, it was like Pip and the Little Monkey. She would say, what do you think what would Pip ask her dad if she could? And then the child may say, you know, Pip may ask Dad, can we get another monkey someday? So that would be her story today. And then tomorrow they would answer that question and say, Dad said, and they had their quotation marks, commas. And when they got to the end of their lesson series, this child had scored out the roof on CAP. And conversation. Don't forget to be having conversation with your kid. You can pick them up. When you go pick them up out of the classroom, anytime during the day, you can have a conversation with a child. And we all get those reading recovery kids that come in saying, me like ice cream. You know, I don't ever say, oh, that's not how you say that. I always just say, you know what, I like ice cream too. But once you start saying it correctly and they start hearing it correctly, then hopefully they'll pick it up. And as you can see in this section, this is what we concentrated on, what I've previously said, the 7 steps to analyzing a running record.
Now listed here is our contact information. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to email us or call us. They're at the number at the bottom of the screen, and we can answer any questions that you have pertaining, you know, to reading recovery. And also like to mention the Holler is a place that KVEC has for digital media and articles and all the things that's going on in South and Eastern Kentucky. Holler at you later.